So you want to learn to drive, but you don't know where to start. Or you're already learning to drive, but you just want to make sure that you're getting every step of the process right, so you can learn in the quickest and most efficient way for you. Stick around, I'm going to walk you through the entire process. Step 1, you need to apply for a provisional driving license, which you can do when you're 15 years and 9 months old. If you're in a rush to get driving, make sure that you've got your provisional early. It takes about 2 weeks to come through the post and costs £34 from gov.uk. I'll leave the links to buy it from the official gov.uk source and everything else I'll talk about in the description box. Just note though, even though you can apply for a provisional driving license and be issued one when you're 15 years and 9 months old, you must be 17 years old to start learning to drive. Although some people with certain disabilities that receive the mobility element of PIP can drive when they're 16. There'll be a link down below so you can check if you're eligible for that. Step 2, after you've ordered your provisional driving license, it's time to make a plan. If you've got a roadmap to learn to drive, you're going to learn smarter, easier and quicker. Let's make a plan together. The first thing that you need to think about is if you're going to learn manual or automatic. And honestly, there's no right or wrong answer. It's down to your personal preference. If you're a car guy or a car girl, then maybe manual's the way to go. If you want the flexibility in being able to drive anything, again, manual's the way to go. But if you just want to pass as quickly and as easily as possible, then maybe automatic is your option. You don't have to apply for a manual or automatic driving license. If you turn up to your driving test in an automatic car, then you'll get an automatic driving license and only be able to drive automatic cars. If you turn up in a manual car, then you'll be able to drive both. So think about what you want to use a car for. If you know you're just going to be popping to the shops and you want to take all of the hassle out of driving and make it as simple as possible, then pick auto. If you want a little bit more flexibility and you want to be able to borrow friends or family's cars, then consider a manual driving license. Honestly though, the learning process is very similar. It might take a couple more lessons to complete the course if you're learning manual because you've got a couple of extra things to throw in, but neither is extremely difficult. Next thing to consider, if you're not sure about your eye health or it's been a long time since you last went to the opticians, I would highly recommend an eye test. You need to be able to read a number plate from 20 meters away the whole time you hold a driving license, not just for your driving test. So if you're not sure that you can easily meet that criteria, then definitely go and take an eye test. Okay, this tip in your preparation is so important. Not enough people talk about it, but I highly recommend it. Make a note and write down your whys. Why do you need to drive? Why will having a driving license enrich your life, and what will it enable to do that you can't do right now? Trust me, learning to drive is a very long process. It will have highs and it will have severe lows. If you've got your whys and reasons written down and you can easily refer back to them when you're having one of those low moments, trust me, it helps you so much. So think about why you need to drive and how it will help you. Get that written down on a post-it note and put it somewhere that you look at very regularly. Lastly, I will also say, don't take shortcuts. There are so many websites out there and so many Instagram accounts, TikTok, etc., advertising fake driving licenses. They don't work. Okay, fine, they might get you into Spoons or Oceano on a Friday night, but when you get pulled over by the police and they run your driving license through the police database, your license won't be in it and you'll be in a lot of trouble. The next step is preparing for and booking your theory test. The theory test costs £23 and you can book it for that price through gov.uk, links in the description. There are a lot of other websites that will book your theory test for more money, but they show you the exact same dates. They're just reselling theory test dates. So book it in the official place, get the right price, links are down below. The theory test isn't super difficult, but you will need to revise for it. There's stuff in there that you just won't know unless you learn it. There's two parts to it, multiple choice and a hazard perception part. On your test, you're going to get 50 multiple choice theory questions, and most people revise for this using one of the theory test revision apps. There are loads out there, read the reviews and see which one's right for you. Don't get the free versions, they don't include all the questions, so you do have to spend $4.99 on an app. It's worth it. The next part of your theory test is going to be hazard perception, and you'll see 12 CGI hazard perception clips and you have to identify the hazard in each clip. It's a little bit more complicated than that though, and I could spend 10 minutes talking just about hazard perception and how to pass it, but I realized that so many people have a problem with this that I made an entire hazard perception training playlist. It's in the description. I suggest you watch it from beginning to end. It will make it all make sense, I promise. Your next step in learning to drive is going to be actually driving. This is the fun bit, and you can start learning to drive as soon as you've got your provisional and you're 17. You don't have to pass a theory test first, and in some cases it's actually more helpful to start learning to drive before you take your theory test, because the theory test material can be quite dry, and if you're learning to drive and you're driving around seeing all of the signs, road markings and road situations that the theory test is talking about, it can make the whole thing more relatable and easier to digest. Plus your instructor can help you with anything that's a bit more tricky. So the DVSA recommend that you take 45 hours of driving lessons and 20 hours of private practice to be able to complete the course and learn to drive. I know not everybody can take private practice because you don't have someone in your friendship group or family that has a car or a driving license, but I promise you it helps so much. Taking private practice not only cuts down the amount that you'll pay for driving lessons, it also makes you learn so much quicker and faster. It goes like this: not each subject, for example parallel parking, takes one lesson to master it. You'll have to keep going over it and over it again throughout your driving journey. So it's much cheaper if you learn the method once with a driving instructor and then repeat it over and over again with your friends and family, rather than having to pay to repeat it over and over again with a driving instructor. Make sense? Also, not a lot of people know this, but you don't actually need a driving instructor at all to learn to drive. Lots of people who watch and comment on this channel just learn with friends and family and these YouTube videos. Of course, it's not just mine. There's a whole bunch of people making awesome YouTube videos about how to learn to drive online. So check them out and it will make your learning journey so much quicker, so much simpler if you can still be thinking about learning to drive in between lessons. Of course though, it is best if you have at least some lessons with a proper driving instructor, because they know exactly the right stuff to teach you and they'll make sure that you're driving in the correct way, the safest way, and the way that will help you pass your driving test the easiest. I've made a YouTube video about how to find the best driving instructor. It's linked below. Check it out if you are looking for a driving instructor, because this can be a sticky subject in itself. So have a look at the video and make sure that you get the right person for you first time. The last thing I'll say on this, if you're learning with friends or family, you as the driver need to be insured as a learner to drive the car. The person in the passenger seat that's supervising you needs to be over 21 and have had a license for the last 3 years. They don't need to be insured to drive the car, only the driver ever needs to be insured to drive it. So if you've got a car and you've got insurance on that car, you can have anybody in the passenger seat supervising you. That will help. But they don't need to be insured unless they need to drive it to get you out of a sticky situation. So think about that one for a bit. Hopefully that tip will make private practice a little bit more accessible. The next step is booking and passing a practical driving test. We're getting close to the finish line now, but you have to have passed a theory test already to be able to book a driving test, which is why I always recommend get the theory test out of the way as quickly as possible so that you're then eligible to book a driving test. The driving test costs £62 or £75 if you can get a weekend slot. I've put a link in the description to the gov.uk page where you can book your driving test the official way. I've also put a link in the description to a video about how to book a driving test, because at the moment availability is scarce. That's my top tips on how to book a driving test if you're struggling. I will say on that though, availability varies across the country. I would not recommend booking a driving test somewhere absolutely random, because everywhere's different. If you're from London and you try and book a test in Scotland, the roads are going to be completely different and you'll probably end up failing it because you're unfamiliar with the kind of roads that you're going to come across. So book a driving test in your local area. It's hard, it's difficult, I know, but you've got the best chance of passing there. You've got the familiarity, which is going to lower your nerves. It's easily accessible, so you've got less on the line and you'll feel less pressure to pass. Book a driving test in your local area. I promise it's the best way. And I think the most important thing for preparing for your driving test is experience and mock tests. Experience driving around, which is why private practice is so useful, because you're not with a driving instructor, you're not being taught anything. Hopefully, you're just driving around gaining road experience. What people don't fail on, usually, is how to control the car. What people fail on is dealing with the road in front of them. So the more experience you've got of dealing with the road, the easier a time you'll have on your driving test. And then mock test. The driving test can be super nerve-wracking. So the more you've done mock tests, you've been in that test situation, you've done 30 minutes of a driving test route before, when you get on the real thing, it'll feel so much more familiar, which will make you feel more relaxed and help you to pass. The other thing that really helps is watching other people do mock tests. It not only helps with familiarity if you're watching them do it in the same area that you're doing your driving test, but it also helps with watching what they do right, so you can emulate it, and watch what they do wrong so you can learn from it and avoid it. I've nearly got 100 mock tests on this channel. You can learn loads from all of them. Obviously the link to the playlist is in the description. Right, now we have to take the practical driving test, and the process isn't massively difficult or complicated. You're going to get an eyesight check, you're going to get some vehicle safety questions, a few junctions, roundabouts, one maneuver, maybe an emergency stop. It's not that tricky. Check out the driving test tips playlist, especially the videos about nerves, and then check out the what happens on a driving test video. It'll make you feel much more ready and relaxed, because if you know what's about to happen to you, it's less of a shock, it's less of a surprise, and your nerves are going to be way lower. Okay, but what happens if you pass or fail your driving test? Well, if you fail your driving test, your examiner should explain why you failed, and they'll send you an email listing all of your faults and your test result. Then you can go away with whoever's helping you learn to drive and practice those areas before you come back next time. But what happens if you pass? Well, firstly, well done. Massive congratulations. Your examiner will still tell you any mistakes that you've made on your driving test though. They'll then write you out a pass certificate. It's a little blue A4 certificate, and with that you can drive around straight away as long as you've switched from learner insurance to proper full driving license insurance. That's it. There's really no big fanfare. At the end of it, you either fail your driving test and you have to do it again, or you pass, you get a blue certificate, and what the examiner will do is they'll take your green provisional away and you'll get a pink full driving license in the post 2 to 4 weeks later. But like I said, you can still drive immediately with your blue pass certificate. Here's an FAQ. Your full driving license, when you pass, can only be posted to the address that's on your driving license. If that address is incorrect, then change it early. If you need to take your driving test and you haven't had time to change it, then it's okay. At the beginning of your driving test, your examiner will ask you if your name and address on your license is still correct. If it's not, be honest and say, my address is wrong, it's my old address, or whatever the reason it's not the correct address, it doesn't matter. What will happen then is, instead of the examiner taking your provisional away and applying for your full license automatically, they'll give you back your provisional driving license and the blue certificate, and then you'll have to go to the post office and apply for your pink full driving license. You can still drive immediately, it just means that the process isn't automatic. It's a little bit more of a hassle, so it is advisable to make sure that your address on your license is correct. Once you've passed your driving test, you've got a car, you've got insurance, it's time to think about P plates. Some people really like them, and some people really find that they make driving more difficult. I've explained it all in the P plates video, which I've linked down below, and I suggest that you read through the comments because people have wildly different experiences while using P plates. In the UK, it's not mandatory. You don't have to use P plates, it's only advisable. It lets people know that you've just passed your driving test and you might not be very confident. And the result of that can go one of two ways. Again, just watch the video, read through the comments, and read people's actual world life experiences of using P plates to make up your decision about whether you use them too. You're also going to have to buy insurance for your car, and this can be an absolute minefield. I remember when I passed my test 17 years ago, there was no advice like this on YouTube or anything like that, so I had to work it out myself, and I made mistakes. I made mistakes which could have saved me money. So I've got a video about of course, about how to find the cheapest insurance. Watch that down below. And if you've just passed your driving test and you're young, then you'll also probably be offered a black box. I tested black box insurance. The pros and the cons, watch that video as well. Okay, so now you're a new driver and you need to build confidence slowly. My best advice for if you've just passed your driving test is it's a new situation. Like when you learn a new skill while learning to drive, you do it, you're not great at it, but you get better at it over time. Now you don't have supervision, it feels new and it is new. So you'll get better at it over time. You'll gain confidence over time. As soon as you've got your car, don't leave it too long to drive because you'll lose confidence. Not necessarily skill, but confidence. So take your car around the block. Roads that you know how to drive on, that you don't have to use a sat-nav for, round the block, and then set yourself tasks of increasing difficulty. Drive to a local shop, drive to a local shopping centre, drive somewhere further. But I would suggest don't make your first drive difficult, time pressured. So don't drive to work for your first drive, don't drive to the school run for your first drive. Just drive easy routes with no time pressure, no stress, no hassle and no fuss. I've got a video for that as well. First drive, it's in the description box below. And then Pass Plus. This one used to be amazing. Pass Plus used to give you insurance discounts. You used to be able to go and take a 6-hour Pass Plus course, which will cover motorways, night driving, town centre, rural driving with a driving instructor, and you'll get a certificate at the end of it. You'll be able to show that to your insurance company and you'll get huge discounts on insurance. I can't think of any insurance that gives discounts for Pass Plus anymore. Yours might, but I doubt it. So I can't, in all honesty, recommend the Pass Plus course anymore, because the point of it is to improve your skills and get cheaper insurance. What I would recommend though is taking extra lessons after you pass with a driving instructor. You're going to need to drive on motorways, and trust me, the first time that you drive on a motorway should not be on your own. Motorway driving video, obviously link in the description, but also try and find a driving instructor or a friend or family member who can go with you on your first motorway drive. Same with night driving. Link in the description to the night driving video, but also friend or family member. If it's the first time doing it on your own, it will give you so much more confidence. Even if they're not there to advise you, what they can do is provide reassurance. Just someone who's sitting there that's done it before and knows what they're doing is going to make you feel so much better. So learning to drive is a process, and it can be a long process. Stay safe, enjoy the journey, and I'll see you on the road. Save this video so you can refer back to it later. And don't forget all of the links in the description box where you can find all of the resources that you need to book your driving tests, apply for your driving license, and find more information about all of the steps. I'll see you in the next one. Peace, bye.